They thought she was just a clerk. Invisible, ordinary, forgettable. But when 8 enemy jets attacked the base, the truth came out. She wasn't a clerk. She was a hidden legend. Alone in the sky, outnumbered 8-1, she turned the impossible into victory. The desert morning began in silence, broken only by the hum of engines swarming on the far side of the base. A pale sun rose slowly above the horizon, painting the sky with soft streaks of gold and pink. Dust swirled across the ground with every passing vehicle, clinging to uniforms and boots. To most who served there, this day was like any other route. Patrols, supply runs, endless maintenance on machines that seemed older than the soldiers themselves. But for one officer, hidden in the crowd of workers, the day carried a strange unease. Her name was Lena Ward. On paper, she was nothing more than a logistics officer, assigned to track shipments of fuel, weapons, and medical supplies. Her desk sat in a corner of a cramped office filled with paperwork and tired clerks who barely noticed her. She spoke little, moved quietly, and never sought attention. Many forgot she was even in the room. Lena preferred it this way. She had lived for years with her head down, unnoticed, letting others command the spotlight. Her colleagues thought of her as dependable, efficient, but unremarkable. They nodded politely when she passed, asked her about fuel schedules, then walked away without remembering her face. To them, she was invisible. But behind the mask of quiet, obedience lay a truth almost no one knew. Years earlier, Lena had been one of the most gifted pilots in the force. She had flown missions that others refused, faced storms that shattered steel, and survived battles that left entire squadrons in ruin. Her name had once carried weight, whispered among cadets as a legend in training halls. She had been fast, fearless, and unshakably calm. And then she was gone. An accident during a night exercise left her with a minor injury. Nothing permanent, but enough for superiors to reassign her for her own good. She was placed in logistics. The wings she had loved, the skies she had mastered, were locked away in a drawer, her flight records gathering dust. She never argued. She never protested. She simply accepted the new role, moving silently into obscurity. Years passed. Most forgot her, but Lena never forgot the sky. She could still feel it in her body, the rush of acceleration, the violent pressure of sharp turns, the way the world narrowed to pure instinct in moments of danger. Sometimes, late at night, when the desert winds howled across the base, she closed her eyes and heard the roar of engines again. This morning, as she reviewed fuel logs at her desk, that familiar feeling returned, a subtle warning, a heaviness in the air, impossible to explain, but undeniable. She sipped her bitter coffee, eyes fixed on the numbers in front of her, yet her mind drifted elsewhere. Something was wrong, and then the sirens began. The sound ripped through the bass like a blade, high-pitched and merciless. Soldiers froze mid-step, radios crackled. The routine order of the morning shattered in seconds. Air raid. Someone shouted, though the alarms already made it clear. Lena rose to her feet, her papers scattering across the desk. She moved quickly, slipping through panicked soldiers as they rushed toward bunkers, vehicles, and control posts. The radar screens in the command tower glowed red with incoming signals. 8 enemy jets. Fast. Coordinated. Deadly dot. The base had no defense ready. The only fighter jet on standby had no pilot. One was injured, another away on maintenance duty. The commander's voice trembled as he barked orders. But his words carried little hope. "No pilots available," he said into the radio. "We have no one airborne." A silence fell, heavier than the desert heat. Soldiers exchanged helpless glances. The convoys parked on the runway were defenseless. Fuel trucks lined up like targets waiting to be destroyed. And then Lena spoke. Her voice was calm even, but it cut through the chaos like steel. "I can fly." At first, they laughed. A clerk, A logistics officer. She must have been joking, but her expression never changed. Her eyes remained steady. I am a pilot, she said again. Certified, experienced. I've flown more combat hours than anyone on this base. Give me the jet. I'll intercept them. The commander hesitated, torn between disbelief and desperation. Every second brought the enemy closer. Convoys would be ash within minutes. You, he asked, eyes narrowing. You've been on supply duty for years. Lena didn't flinch. Yes, and I can still fly. Silence lingered for a heartbeat. Then the commander made his choice. Get her to the cockpit. Now. Mechanics scrambled, their faces pale with shock. They fueled the F-16 in frantic haste, muttering to each other. Did you know she was a pilot? One whispered. Never had a clue. Lena walked toward the hangar with steady steps. She ran her hand along the fuselage of the jet, the metal cold and smooth beneath her fingertips. Memories surged of storms, of fire, of missions where death had brushed past her canopy and she had lived. Her body remembered everything. Within minutes, she was strapped into the cockpit. The canopy closed, sealing her in. Lights blinked, screens glowed, the hum of raw power vibrated through her bones. She was no longer the quiet woman behind a desk. She was a pilot again. Engines roared as the jet surged down the runway, lifting into the air. The desert shrank beneath her, the horizon opening wide. Clouds drifted like silent allies, the sky hers once more. Back on the ground, soldiers watched in awe. A single green dot appeared on radar, moving toward the swarm of red. Their only hope rested on the woman they had once overlooked. Lena's heartbeat quickened, but not from fear. She felt alive. The enemy formation approached with lethal precision, unaware that one pilot waited for them. 8 jets against 1, impossible odds. But she had faced worse before, she whispered to herself, her lips curving faintly. Let's see how they handle this. The first enemy jet broke formation, advancing ahead of the others. Lena's eyes narrowed. Instinct guided her. She adjusted her angle, locked on, and fired. The missile streaked forward, a spear of fire cutting through the sky. Seconds later, the jet exploded in a bloom of flame. Cheers erupted in the control tower, but Lena did not pause. She banked sharply, vanishing into a cloud. Another jet followed. She let it believe it had the advantage, then flipped upward in a sharp climb. The enemy overshot, exposed, and her cannon tore through its hull. 2 down. 6 to go. The battle had begun. The sky roared with fire and steel. Missiles tore past her, canopy detonating in bursts of smoke. Lena twisted, rolled, dove through clouds, vanishing and reappearing like a phantom. She was everywhere and nowhere, striking with precision, retreating with grace. Each maneuver was calculated, every risk measured. Her enemies were aggressive, but predictable. She used their haste against them, baiting them into traps, turning their strength into weakness. Another burst of fire. Another jet spiraled downward. 3 down. The soldiers on the ground could hardly breathe. The logistics officer they had dismissed as ordinary was dismantling an entire squadron before their eyes. Doubt turned to awe. Fear turned to hope. But Lena had no time to think of them. Her focus was total. Her world had narrowed to the sky, to the dance of survival and strategy. The hum of engines, the blink of warnings, the sharp tug of G against her body. This was where she belonged. Another missile locked onto her. She rolled violently, letting it pass, then cut her power suddenly. An enemy jet overshot, and she fired again. 4 down. The remaining jets tightened formation. Desperate now, they circled her, attempting to overwhelm from all sides. But Lena was calm. Her mind ran ahead of them, predicting their moves before they made them. She remembered a lesson from long ago. You don't win by being faster. You win by being smarter. She dove into the sun, its blinding light hiding her path. The enemy faltered, and she struck. One jet exploded, debris scattering across the clouds, 5 down. Her fuel gauge blinked in warning, but she ignored it. Time could wait. Duty could not. She rolled again, pulling into another sharp climb. The sky burned around her, but her hands were steady. Another shot, another fireball. 6 down. 2 jets remained. They hesitated, their confidence broken. One turned to flee, but she chased it. Her missile finding its mark, 7 down. The last enemy spun in panic, diving desperately to escape. Lena followed calmly, closing the distance, pressing the advantage. She locked on, fired, and the sky lit once more. 8 down. The sky fell silent. The base below erupted with cheers. Soldiers shouted her name, eyes wide with disbelief. The woman they had overlooked had saved them all, but Lena did not celebrate. She banked her jet, scanning the horizon. War was never truly over. Yet for now, the convoys were safe, the base intact, and her secret revealed. She allowed herself a faint smile beneath her helmet. She had been invisible. Now she was unforgettable. The roar of engines faded as Lena circled back toward the base. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her body trembled with the aftermath of adrenaline. She had fought like a shadow in the clouds, dismantling 8 enemy jets. Yet she felt no triumph, only clarity. On the ground, soldiers rushed across the tarmac, pointing at the sky, their disbelief turning into cheers. The commander stood in the control tower, staring at the radar screen. The red blips had vanished, one after another, until only Lena's lone green signal remained. He whispered words that no one expected to hear. She did it, alone.